Hello, my name is Hugh Bryden. I formed Roncadora Press in 2005 to allow me to make artists' books and to publish poetry pamphlets. And I've been doing that, and I've made lots. I've made 40 books over the last 20 years. And some of these books have been sculptural, some of these books have involved musicians, craftspeople, other artists, and almost all of them poets. So with my 20th anniversary coming up, I wanted to do something special, and I wanted to do something that was personal to me. I grew up in the Annan area next to a very fine sandstone quarry called Corsall Quarry. In Annan, there was a myth that Annan sandstone went across with the clippers that went out of Annan Harbour and was dumped in the harbour of New York. And in New York Harbour, they put the Statue of Liberty on this. That is complete nonsense. But when I started researching the real story, it's much more interesting. The real story is that sandstone from Corsall Quarry went across and was used in the brownstones. When they were building the stoops and they wanted fine detail, they used Corsall sandstone. And it was prized. So when they came to build the state capital in Albany, it was specified that they wanted Corsall sandstone. And 250 tonnes per week were taken from Annan to Silloth across the Atlantic and then taken in barges up to Albany. And for 7 years in the late 19th century, stone carvers from small villages around Annan went across for their summers and spent the time making carvings on what became known as the $1 Million Staircase. And these are world-class carvings. The centerpiece of those were portraits. They carved famous Americans. They reached 77 and ran out of famous Americans. There are several hundred more, and these are the faces of themselves, their families, and the people they knew. These are Dumfries faces transplanted into New York. That I found the inspiration for this project. The project is called Sandstone Steps, and it will centre around 10 boxes like this, which this is a cultural compendium. It looks like Sandstone Steps, but it opens up and has a drawer that will be the musical element, that will have music in various forms, a drawer that will have poetry books and pamphlets and artist books, and will be the literary element, and prints, a portfolio of prints that will be the visual element. So this will be the basis for exhibitions, for poetry readings, for musical events, built around this box. All the individual items will be available, but it's also going to be a collaboration with New York. So for the visual elements, I'll be working with Maddy Rosenberg, an artist and curator who founded Central Booking in New York around the same time as I found Roncadora Press. We'll be working on the visual elements and on the artist books. Hugh McMillan from here will be working with JoAnne McFarland, a Brooklyn-based poet, to work on the poetry, and my son Ben, who is from Dumfries but New York-based, will be working with his friend and collaborator Rohin to make the musical element. So what I've started making prints. Ben is thinking about the music, but we need to raise the money to produce these items, but also to allow for travel and accommodation for the artists to come across, to make contact and collaborate. And we hope that this will lead to more than just a collaboration, but will lead to further links between New York and Dumfries and Galloway.
Hi, I'm Maddy Rosenberg. I'm an artist and curator, and here I am in Brooklyn, where I grew up. Architecture is my main subject matter, so I do have a lot to draw on just locally, but I do travel, and I spend at least several months every year in the UK and in Europe. So this cross-pollination has been intrinsic in my ideas and my work for many years. I started Central Booking in 2009. It was my curatorial project, and I focused it on artist books and art and science kinds of exhibitions as well. I first met Hugh when he was in New York visiting, and a mutual artist friend of ours brought him over to our gallery when we still had this huge space on the Lower East Side. and thought that we really needed to meet each other. And we did, and we hit it off, and I was very glad for Hugh to become part of Central Booking. When I next was in Scotland, I contacted him, and I came down from Glasgow, and Hugh immediately had to give me a tour of the whole region. I fell in love, as I have with Scotland, and as I do like to collaborate with artists as well, he was also a collaborator. I said to him if he had any projects that he thought we could work together on to bring it to me. Well, next time he came over to New York and we talked, it was amazing. He had this incredible project with the Sandstone Steps of the quarry there and how it actually built New York, people-wise, construction-wise, architectural-wise, every aspect that I normally work with as well in my curatorial projects. So I thought this is fabulous. We could build the artist book, we can create lots of exhibitions, events with all the music and the poetry that he had in mind over there, and then we would bring it the next year over here to New York. So the first thing I was doing was to try and recruit who would be my poet from the Brooklyn side, and I thought of JoAnne McFarland because not only is she an amazing poet and writer, but she is also a visual artist. And very glad to have her on board. As an addition, she even has a bit of Scottish ancestry in her as well. As you can see, these are my books, and I'm very much also interested in architecture, so you can see how I work as well. Very much sculptural work, 2D into 3D, and when curating and installing, I use everything in the space, the ceilings, the floors, creating a whole sculptural space. And you too can be one of our collaborators. We'd really appreciate you helping us to build the artist book with your contributions. You can bring all of us from New York who are contributing to this project to Dumfries and Galloway, and you can help fund all of these events that we have scheduled for you. We're really looking forward to meeting everybody in person. Thank you in advance.